We travelled west to Abkhazia, the largest of Georgia's breakaway states. After declaring independence, they also fought a war with Georgia in the early 90s that killed thousands and ended in uneasy stalemate. The United Nations has an unarmed presence in Abkhazia.
This checkpoint is under Russian responsibility, and they're responsible for security here.
We'd been warned it would be difficult to get in, so UN peacekeepers said we could hitch a ride with one of their patrols through the southern part of the breakaway state.
So where are we now?
Now we are on Abkhazian side.
So we're in Abkhazia.
We are in Abkhazia. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we have.
So you can see the refugees.
Здравствуйте. Это официальные гости ЮН, журналисты.
Журналисты, документы их мне, пожалуйста. И кассету пускай вытаскивают. Запрещается.
It's forbidden to take shots. Okay, we will not.
We're just crossing back into Georgia from Abkhazia because the Abkhazian authorities have refused to allow us in. They've been completely uncooperative and refusing really to discuss things with us. They just say, "Nyeh," just kick us out. We tried to enter Abkhazia several times, but were refused, like many others. When war broke out with Georgia, thousands fled and took refuge wherever they could. Years later, this old tea factory is still home to a number of families from Abkhazia.
What kind of life are you talking about? Do you call this life? There's no electricity, no food, no water. This is not life.
They get electricity for 2 or 3 hours every 15 days. And they have running water only when they have electricity.
He told me his final wish was to be buried in Abkhazia, his homeland.
It's our tradition that we cannot be buried outside our country. We have to be buried in our own land.
He's now telling this story. He's like, oh, the easiest way to get to Abkhazia is to die and get yourself a place at the cemetery.
If we can lower them and raise them. This is ridiculous. I mean, what the hell are these? What the hell are they all doing here? How are we allowed just to walk in here? "100 years ago, Muslim Azerbaijan used to supply half the world's oil. In recent years, Western oil firms have invested vast sums here. But officially, Azerbaijan is still at war with neighbouring Armenia. My guide Tural took me to see the front line. When the Soviet Union broke up, Azerbaijan and Armenia got their independence. But a small mountainous area called Nagorno-Karabakh triggered war. Stalin had given it to Azerbaijan, but historically it had been mainly Armenian Christian. So when it wanted to break away and become independent, Armenia sent troops in and helped the Karabakh army push the Azeris out. We're going up towards the hills here, which overlook the front line positions. Ahead were the front line trenches between Azerbaijan and the breakaway state of Nagorno-Karabakh. To get from here to this trench, we've got to cross some open ground, so we're going to do it a little bit quickly. The front line here is still very dangerous. There's been people killed regularly, and there was a guy killed here just last weekend. The biggest threat here is from snipers firing from Nagorno-Karabakh.
A sniper could shoot you here, within range.
Okay, maybe I'll come down a bit then.
We're about 1.5 kilometers away, so a sniper could reach us easily.
Tarao's family come from land now occupied by Karabakh soldiers. They were forced to leave when the conflict started in the late 80s. How do you feel being so close to the front line?
I have a temptation here, being so close to my native land. The sense of revenge is growing in me.
A desire for vengeance?
I have a desire to get my land back by any means. And if a warfare is one of the powerful means, is one of the real means to get that land back, I'm completely ready to fight for the freedom of my homeland.
We left the front line and headed back into Azerbaijan. We just stopped at a kebab shop by the side of the road, and it's run by some men originally from Nagorno-Karabakh, and hopefully they're going to feed us. Salam alaikum. The owners of the restaurant were refugees, forced to flee their homeland a decade ago. They said they'd witnessed Armenian atrocities. Well, it smells good, which is a good sign. Can you give me some examples of what you claim the Armenians were doing to the Azeris living in Nagorno-Karabakh?
They put children, women and elderly people together inside a pipe and welded it. Then they rolled those pipes down from the mountains. We've seen many savage actions by the Armenians. We've seen everything with our own eyes, what kind of torture our sisters, our daughters, our mothers were put through. I can't describe it all. It makes me angry and I want to explode. We've seen them being beheaded.
Then they suddenly asked us to stop filming. We chatted to the owners of the kebab shop for a little bit, but then they got a bit nervous. And so they said, why don't you go and have some food, because they felt a bit tense talking to us. There's a lot of concern, even amongst refugees, about talking about Nagorno-Karabakh, because it's such a contentious issue. Even now, more than 10 years after the conflict is supposed to have ended. It turns out the owners of the restaurant weren't quite as worried about the political nature of the questions we were asking. What they were actually worried about was, because several years ago, this place used to be a cafe/brothel almost, and there was a news report on Azeri TV revealing this, and then we turned up with our cameras and they started to wonder if we were doing the same thing. So we've got here some lamb and also some natural yogurt. I might leave that. Thank you very much for the performance. It was very